Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That guy over there, that's Tim Dennis. All right, Tim, I'm going to basically turn the show over to you in a few minutes here for today. I'm at my daughter's wedding, so I've got a lot of stuff going on and doing a lot of traveling. But I wanted to make a couple of quick announcements again. I am going to be at, this is so cool, I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be on a TV show called Haunted Hospital. It premieres on Friday, October 12th. But it's only in Canada, Tim. Only in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the Travel and Entertainment Channel. The first episode airs October 12th. I'm in the third episode, which airs October 26th. But check it out. Enjoy it. Have some fun. I told them I'd let you guys know. So if you live in Canada, the great state of Canada, Tim.
Ah, yes.
Right by the Texas border.
Yep.
You can watch it. On starting October 12th, watch Haunted Hospital, and on October 26th, the third episode, make sure you tune in and check out my stories. Very personal, very real, and made me weep like a child, Tim. Made me weep like a child.
Oh, no.
Hey, make sure you check out tonight. There's a special Expedition Unknown 4-part special about the afterlife. Josh Gates' brand new series. He's got some special guests that he take along this time. Chip Coffey, Grant Wilson, Amy Bruni, Adam Berry, just to name a few. And he does everything from going to places where people live with the dead to trying ayahuasca to see if he can make a connection himself, Tim. And that starts on the Discovery Channel tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on Discovery Channel. So make sure you guys check it out. It looks fantastic. And having had a chance to talk to Josh a couple of times this year about the program, he's very excited about it, and looks like it's going to be great. So check it out. 4-part special starts tonight on the Travel Channel. All right, Tim, it's time for you to take the reins. Barry Strohm, our guest here on Beyond the Darkness.
All right, like Dave said, everybody, welcome into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness on a Sunday, and with us is Barry Strohm. Barry Strohm was born near Hershey, Pennsylvania, attended Lehigh University, where he obtained a degree in business management and later became a licensed civil engineer. After spending a career in construction and aggregate industry, he realized that he possessed the ability to communicate with the spirit world. After publishing his first book, Haunting and History of the Battle of Gettysburg, in 2011, which he appeared on Darkness Radio with us for that book, he began to write books based on information channeled from the spirits on the other side of the life veil. Spirit Speak of the Universe is the author's 5th published book, and I have that in front of me right now and have perused it, and it's a wonderful book. Let's welcome back to Beyond the Darkness, Barry Strohm. Hi, Barry. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Appreciate you being back. Let's review for people who might not have tuned into the last show that you were on, or might not have remembered your last appearance with us on Beyond the Darkness, because you were on Beyond the Darkness with us once before as well. Exactly how this works. Now, you don't use, let's throw cast the aspersion aside. You don't use the Ouija board per se, or Ouija board. You use a talking board, correct?
Yeah, a spirit board.
A spirit board. Okay.
It's an entirely different design.
Right. And you and your partner Connie use this board together, correct? To talk to the other side. Mm-hmm. And in this, now tell people exactly how you started communicating with the other side, and how you established communication with the other side, and how this happened.
Well, I started off like every other paranormal guy does, with the ghost box, taking pictures. The pictures led to my first book. My store is about 8 miles from Gettysburg. That's why I wound up taking pictures on the battlefield and wrote that first book. But we also had some friends in Salt Lake City that had been doing channeling sessions, board sessions for 3 generations out there. And one day they invited me to attend one of their sessions, and I had absolutely no idea what I was walking into. I walk into the room, and they got this round board there, and the letters and numbers are on the outside of the board. They have a glass laid on top of it, and they're actually using a shot glass for a planchette. And I sit down and they start off, and the first message they get on the board is, "Hello, Barry, we were waiting for you."
Oh,
and I went, "Oh man, this is going to be wild." And they then proceeded to tell me a whole bunch of stuff that was taking place back in Pennsylvania. I mean, things these people in Salt Lake City could have had absolutely no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when I saw it, I was just absolutely blown away, because up to that point, I always relied on other psychics or other people that could do it. So I asked them if they would mind teaching me how to use the board, and they began to show us what to do. And in one of our sessions out there with them, the spirits actually gave us the design for the board that we use. And if people can go onto my website, it's called spiritspredict.com. There's a page on board channeling on there, and they can click in, see the board, see the prayer protection that we use, and basically understand better the techniques. Now, since I've become more adept at this, I'm starting to hear the messages in my head, so we no longer spell the words out each letter at a time. Because when we started this, they would spell words, and we would video it, and then I'd have to go back and copy the letters and decipher what words they were saying. Now we can do it. I can basically hear it in my head as it comes through, and we can move an awful lot faster with what we do now.
Now, a skeptic would say to you, are you sure? And I'm going to throw the skeptic and devil's advocate at you here, Barry. The words you're hearing, how do you know that those words that you're hearing are the words of the spirit that you're channeling? And two, how do you know that they're authentic? How is it that, are they backing themselves up with some sort of empirical evidence, or how are they proving to themselves, one, that they're an authentic voice that you're hearing, and that you're not somehow tricking yourself into hearing what it is that you want to hear, one, and two, how is it that you know that you're getting something authentic? I guess I'm a little confused as to, now that you're, depending on, I guess, more of yourself and not the board, and three. Well, you know what? I'll save that. First of all, answer that question. I'm
Which
getting
one?
Really. How do you know, first of all, that that's the authentic voice of the person that's coming through?
Well, when we started this out, I went to great detail to do research for the person. For instance, when I did the conspiracy book, if I was going to try to channel with an individual and ask them questions, I would do research that I could ask detailed questions about their life. For instance, in the conspiracy book, we channeled with King Richard. And I asked him, I said, you have to prove to me we have the spirit of King Richard with us. And he spells out the word Farthingay. Well, as it turns out, that's the castle that he was raised in. And once we started asking detailed questions and the answers that were coming back, I could be almost 100% certain that was truly who I was talking to. Now, we try to test and verify. When we are talking with we've now got the ability to talk with some of the Holy Spirits. Mm-hmm. So I will go in and I will I'll do research on them, do detailed questions, and make them answer those questions. And if the answers match, then, I'm fairly satisfied with what they say to us or the content of their messages. Sometimes the messages we get that you just absolutely know this is who this is coming from. So I do a lot. Now that we've also gotten more sensitive, I can feel the energy coming through.
Okay.
And I can tell if we get an energy change or how things react on the board. And what I do is I use the board now to verify the words I'm hearing in my head. Like I will let the glass go to the first letter of the word. So if I'm hearing a certain word and it hits that letter, that's a confirmation they're giving me that what I'm hearing is correct. So when we're doing this now, you will see us, basically I'm just going to one letter at a time, confirming what I'm hearing. And I'm speaking the words relatively slow so that they have time to confirm what we're doing.
I hate to be the guy who breaks up the band, but I know you're doing this with Connie, and in that same time, the two of you are controlling the planchette. Is this correct?
Well, we're using both of our energies on it.
Okay.
But But we're not moving. We're not moving that glass. That glass is moving itself.
So you're not touching it?
We're touching it, but we're not moving it. We're just simply touching it and following it in its action. When it goes to a letter, we did not move that board to that to the letter. I've actually sat and I've watched the guides move the glass with nobody touching it.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's spirit energy that's moving that glass. It's not us. Because
I know you do a lot of Facebook Live and you do a lot of stuff online. So that has that glass moved itself while you're doing these online demonstrations and talks with these different spirits?
No, I've never done it online. I just simply never thought about it. But one of these nights, I'll have them move it on their own so they can see. When we started doing this, to make sure that I wasn't influenced, we would do it over Skype. My friends would have the board out in Salt Lake City, and I would be on Skype here in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I would ask questions that they had absolutely no idea where I was coming from. And they would get the answers in Salt Lake. And there's no way I could influence that board over 2,000 miles.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. Yeah. Okay. That's
basically how we built confidence in it, was by letting them. I would ask the questions, they'd be in Salt Lake, and they'd give me the answers, and they would tell me things that would happen back here, or that there was no way they could ever know what was taking place.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So this, let's get back a little bit to the spirit board now. You were mentioning the spirit board has a different design. It is a circular board, and you mentioned that it goes in a circular pattern, and it has the letters around the edge, the letters and numbers around the edge, and then in the middle it's got like this yes, no, and then the question, it's got the question in the middle. So it looks like it says the question board. I'm looking at the design of it. What does it say on the outside? Oh, it's goodbye and message for.
They can have a message for, and they also have a rest command.
Okay.
RST.
That's what that is. Okay.
That's the one that throws everybody off.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll ask for a spirit, and they go, and the glass will go to rest.
Okay.
And that means that they need a little bit of time to find that spirit.
Okay.
Now, how this works, well, whether they have a PA system over there, I'll never tell you. Okay. But generally in about 20 seconds, we're ready to go, and the spirit we've asked for is here. But we use that for their paging system.
Huh. Okay. So it's not an automatic thing where they just grab them by the lapels and throw them in front of you, huh?
I have no idea how they do it over there.
That's really interesting. Okay. So and you've said something really, I guess, kind of important to me. You do start all sessions with a prayer of protection, and to me that seems kind of important. That you do automatically throw up that wall there. I shouldn't say a wall, but you do throw up something there to protect yourself. It seems that a lot of people, when they sit down in front of a talking board, a Ouija board, whatever it is that they're using, they just kind of go into it and start playing with it. Now, I'm going to ask you this question in a kind of a careful way, but do you believe, even when you sit down with this question board or this talking board, that you can be duped by something? Do you think that there's not, there's characters of all types on this other side of this board, no matter what, and that something could potentially come across and try to fool you?
Oh, absolutely. We've had spirits try to fool us, come in and impersonate others. No question. Now, usually I pick it up by the energy change, but no. In the past, we've had many times they've come in. When we started to do this, I asked the guides themselves, would you please give us a prayer of protection to use? Because one of the first things they ever told us was never, ever invite evil to come in. That's the first command to use in the board, or anything. When you open a channel, never ever invite evil. But then one night we were designing the board, and I asked them, I said, would you please give us a prayer of protection that we're supposed to use? And the guides came back and they gave us this prayer. And it says, God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our own ego. We ask these things in the light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. And we never start a session without saying that prayer.
Oh, that's very nice. I mean, that's perfect. Oops. Yeah. I mean, and now, do you feel that it works for you, and obviously that message was given to you, but do you feel that prayer could help anybody who wants to sit down?
Absolutely. We've actually taught people to do board channeling now, and we give them the prayer, and our board actually has that prayer fastened to the back of it. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, no, we would never start a session without saying our protection.
Oh, well, there you go. And it seems to me, and a lot of people, and here's the other thing, and I kind of chuckle at this too, is there'll be some people who are connected to the paranormal who want to hear about the paranormal who will say, "Oh, Tim, don't ram religion down our throats. Don't do that." But it seems to me that you do, they kind of go hand in hand. If you're going to speak to spirits on the other side, you kind of do need it in order to protect yourself, because it seems that one goes in balance with the other. Good goes in balance with evil. And it seems like if you're going to talk to something out there that is good, you're bound to have something bad that's going to come about and want to mess with you. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of evil on both sides of the veil. We're seeing it today, but there's also evil on the other side. It's earthbound energies. One of my favorite sayings is, an atheist has no business doing paranormal investigations, because they don't protect themselves.
How real is that danger when someone sits down for the first time, either knowingly or unknowingly, when they sit down with a talking board? Is it something where the first time somebody sits down with one, if they're a novice and unknowingly sitting down with one, is it as real as the common cold or the flu? Could you catch something right away, or are you going to get away with one when you sit down with one?
I think it's a crapshoot. I don't think there's any, you can get away with it 10 times, but on that 10th time, you may open a channel and get something you don't want to get. So, I mean, we've probably channeled now well over 700 hours on the board.
Wow.
And that's a lot of time. And
yeah.
My 6th book is at the publisher, and I've written 5 of these 100% based on channeled information. And we've had it try to come through. And what the guides told us, they said, if you feel uncomfortable, take your fingers off the board, off the planchette.
Have you run into that?
Yes. And whenever I feel something, I'm uncomfortable about it, we just immediately stop, say a quick prayer that they take care of the evil energy, and we're done for the night. So you don't push it, you respect it.
What do you feel is the biggest baddie you've run into while you've been on the board?
I don't know, because I've stopped it.
Okay.
I don't let it form. I don't invite it. I tell it to stay away. We have had a spirit come through that tries to impersonate the other spirits, because he doesn't like he's trying to protect. He's trying to protect the Catholic Church, and he was an early saint, and sometimes we get messages that aren't particularly attractive for people trying to protect that church, as well as a lot of others. But he'll come in and try to impersonate another spirit. And I've grown now that I can tell right away when that energy changes, because the movement of the glass will slow up considerably. As soon as he comes in, I'll take my fingers off, I'll say a prayer to have him removed, and then we're done for the night, because I don't want to take a chance on it.
Is this spirit, are you saying this is a spirit of maybe a former cardinal or a former somebody within the Vatican, or is it?
Yeah, he was a saint. He was Saint Martin of Tours, and he would come through and give us some good information when we were beginning, but then once we started really getting the truth about a lot of things, he decided it was more important he would protect the church than it was to bring the truth out. So he started coming through and impersonating other spirits, and we would just stop it. The first couple times he did it, he got away with it, because he was pretty slick coming in. But we caught on to his game, Tried to come through again a couple of weeks ago. I said a quick prayer to get rid of him, and away he went, and we got on with our session.
So a prayer drove away someone who was a saint.
Oh, yeah. Hey, this is something, there are very few, in the Middle Ages, sainthood was basically a political thing.
Okay.
It wasn't based on what they did. If they had a position of power, they'd make him a saint. So there are thousands of saints that are referred to as a saint. They're just simply not thought of as a saint in the eyes of God.
I got to wrap my head around this as a Catholic. So even though you're told in the Catholic Church you're to pray to saints, well, you were to pray to saints. It used to be you didn't have the direct line to God. I mean, at least in Vatican II, you didn't have the direct line to God. You were to pray to the saints. You weren't necessarily praying to someone who was all that holy?
In a lot of cases, you are correct.
So you were praying to someone who might not necessarily be all that pure. I mean, case depending.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to get the emails. Please. No,
you will.
Spare your emails.
If I keep going on this, you will.
Well, and I guess I don't care for all that. But
but think about it logically. During the Middle Ages, the basic church was created around 325 A.D. when Constantine held the Conference of Nicaea.
Right.
Well, from that time forward, the Roman Catholic Church was the power, and it became a very important political power. I mean, they basically controlled a lot of what was going on, and the people that would become the head of the church, they would give them the designation saint because there was no process to go through. Today, your church goes through a process. But, for 1,000 years of the church history, they would say, "Oh, I'm a big shot, so I'm a saint." So, I mean, that's the way it worked historically.
I've talked about it before on the show, and I haven't talked a lot about it because I have my own journey that I'm going through. But my 17th great grandfather was the 4th Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and there's a lot of information out there about the Templars, some good, some bad, especially around that time. But the way that Bernard lost his head at Ascalon is controversial, to say the least. The official story is that Bernard and his band of men got greedy. That's all they say, is that they got greedy looking for treasure behind the walls of Ascalon, if you look it up on any source. And that they were caught behind the walls of Ascalon, and they were beheaded, and their heads were hung on pikes outside the city walls. And that's it. But there's something that's not quite right about it. There's something that doesn't feel right.
Well, they were challenging the church, the power of the church.
Yeah, and essentially sabotaged was what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when you look at the successor, I mean, Bernard had his son Guillaume, which could have been a perfectly good successor, and there were, if you look at the Tremblay family, which later became the Trombleys, but the Tremblay family down the line, the Tremblay family, as it's rumored, years down the line, got a hold of the Shroud of Turin. I think it was 200 or 300 years down the line, gets a hold of the Shroud of Turin, and they hold on to it for the Templar. In an age where the Shroud of Turin is lost, and then magically reappears. I'm trying to remember the name of the art dealer who had it.
We've asked the question about the Shroud of Turin several times.
But in that, somehow the Tremblay family gets the confidence of the Templar after they're burned at the stake, so to speak, in 1307, which, if you believe they disappeared in 1307, I've got a bridge to sell you in New York.
Yeah, really.
It never happened, folks. But in that, it's interesting that Bernard loses his head and the Tremblay family disappears but reappears back into the Templar lore, but he's sacrificed. I find that's I don't know, somehow intriguing. But I guess the long way around this whole story is that there were, if you think that the Catholic Church was innocent and had halos around everything, that's again another bridge in Brooklyn I got to sell you.
Well, the whole Inquisition.
Yeah. So I guess to say I'm surprised that you can't pray to a saint and have him be innocent. I say it tongue in cheek.
I mean, some of the saints you could pray to. There are some wonderful ones. I mean, we've actually interviewed multiple of them, and I have the interviews up on my YouTube page. It's under my name. You can go in and listen to sessions where we interview St. Paul, St. Peter, John the Baptist, and a bunch of other of the holiest of the saints. I mean, they're for real. There are a bunch that are for real, but a lot of the secondaries were political appointments from the Middle Ages.
The one I wanted to ask you about here on air, the one that I did want to ask you about, the one that's an actual relative that some people I think is a myth that is actually tied into my bloodline, is my 17th great auntie, which is Joan of Arc. She's actually the patron saint of radio, and I actually have bloodlines tied to her. Seriously? Yeah. Your blood really got around. It did, yeah. She's my actual great auntie, and I, which I think is kind of cool. She was yeah, really. She was related to Bernard. Have you ever spoken to her? No, we can. If you want to get her on sometime, we can chat with her. So I would. Sometime I would. I thought, the whole hearing voices, which, believe it or not, you want to hear a weird tie between Bernard and Joan of Arc, is Mary Todd Lincoln was related in there too. She's in that family line. Seriously? Yeah. And Mary Todd Lincoln heard voices, which I thought was the funniest thing when they say Mary Todd Lincoln was insane, and they kept saying that she had this problem but she heard voices. And when we studied that in school, and then when my aunt did the genealogy years later, and we were sitting down, she said, yeah, and we're related to Mary Todd Lincoln. I said, wait a minute. Joan of Arc is our auntie. She said, yeah. And I said, Mary Todd Lincoln is she said, distant cousin. I said, on the same family tree. And she said, yeah. And I said, and Mary Todd Lincoln heard voices. She said, yeah. I said, just like Auntie Joan. She said, yep. And I said, okay. So she got it honestly. Oh, yeah. No, that's how a lot of this stuff takes place. Like, we'll have people tell us all the time that what we're doing, that we're not supposed to be speaking to the spirits. It's written in Leviticus that it's, no one's supposed to associate with them. Well, all of the great prophets were psychics. Where do you think, like Moses got his messages, or John, or any of them? They all had psychic abilities, and that was put into the Bible because the psychics were speaking the truth in the Middle Ages, and the church didn't like it because it was all about control in those days. So, but think about the fact that all of the prophets, the people that brought the great messages, they were psychics. They heard the words of God, or the words of the saints coming through to them. Wow. Tell you what, let's take a break here, Barry. When we come back, not all energies that come to the board may necessarily be of this world. We'll talk to Barry about it in just a moment, right here on the Best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. Welcome back to the Best in Paranormal Talk Radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. Our guest is Barry Strohm. We're talking about the book Spirits Speak of the Universe, Extraterrestrial Spirituality, and Our Galaxy. It's a lot bigger than what you may know. And Barry's got the talking board, the question board that we're talking about. And he and his partner Connie have channeled quite a bit in this new book and are answering the questions, I guess, of the entire galaxy, not just the questions of what we've been talking about in this first half of the program, which is just basically biblical. I've been talking a little bit about the biblical because it fascinates me, and I happen to have a few biblical ties in my ancestry, so I tend to be a little selfish myself. So, Barry, there in this book, you tend to reach out not just to not just to the biblical saints and others, but you tend to go a little bit further out there in that you tend to reach out to alien energies. Now, I got to ask this right off the bat. How do you know the difference between a human energy or an energy of a saint or an energy of someone with maybe a little bit higher energy and an alien? What's the difference?
Well, actually, there's no difference in their soul energy.
Really?
I mean, now that one's going to bring you some emails.
Okay.
I started when I was working on the conspiracy book,
okay.
And I got very interested in alien presence. So I started throwing out some questions to the guides about aliens. Do aliens exist? The answer comes back, of course. So the more questions I ask, one night the guide tells me, he says, I'm going to introduce you to another guide who can answer all of your questions because he is one. And I said, is one what? And he said, well, the energy you're going to speak with next week was an alien in his last life. Okay. So next time we check in. Now, during this session, the board was in Salt Lake with my buddies, and we were in Pennsylvania. So Moo comes. The name of this spirit is Moo.
Okay.
So I said, how come we can talk to an alien? And he says, well, aliens and humans all have the same soul energies. And when he explained it, it made a lot of sense. Because your soul energy has been eternal. Your soul energy has been around since the beginning. Humans have only been on Earth for a couple 100,000 years. So where do you think your soul energy was before humans walked the Earth? Well, the answer is it was on other planets because there are so many advanced cultures out there. So Moo explained to us that he has the exact same soul energy as we do, and that in past lives, he had actually incarnated as a human. He walked the earth about 10,000 years ago. So it took me a little while to get over those hurdles and start to believe it. But we built up a long relationship with Moo, and his channeling was the basis for my first alien book, Aliens Among Us, Exploring Past and Present. And I started. I was really hesitant about this one. You ask about how you can confirm things,
right?
Well, trust me, there's no way you confirm you're talking to an alien spirit. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. Anyway, we start doing these channeling sessions, and he was with us for almost 3 years, and we spent a lot of time with him during those 3 years. And I would ask him questions, and his answers would make a lot of sense. So in the first book, we worked on the history of alien presence on Earth, discussed things like crop circles, the different formations. We went into length talking about the Nazca lines in Peru, what the different shapes of the Nazca lines stood for. Mm-hmm. We talked about past, and we talked a lot about current stuff going on the Earth in that first book. He explained to us that he was a blue alien, and in his past life, he stood 9.5 feet, came from a planet on the far side of the Milky Way named Robe, and died at the age of 952 of our years.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an old boy. But apparently, humans have the shortest of the lifespans. That most on other planets, aliens are around for an awful long time. So the more I ask questions, I'd go back and I'd make up all these questions to ask him.
Sure. And
he'd come up with the answers, and I'm thinking, I might really be speaking with one. And he would tie things together. One time he actually appeared to me and showed himself to me, and he said this. He said, when you want to write, he said, I have the ability to actually get into your head. And if I don't like what you're saying, I will give you either blurry vision or an itchy nose.
Okay.
And when I was working on the books, I'd be writing along, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden my nose would start to itch, and I would know he doesn't like this one. So we'd go back and do some revision. But he was with us for almost 3 years, as I said before, and gave us this huge amount of information. And he started talking on on things like universal reincarnation, which explains what our soul energies did before humans walked the earth. And every time now that I that I do one of these Facebook Live sessions, I ask these high-ranking Holy Spirits whether they ever served God on other planets. And the answer is always yes, that they've served multiple lifetimes on other planets. And Mu explained to us that on his planet, they worship our God, and it just turns out our God has control over our galaxy. He said that on his planet, they have a celebration where the God actually sent his son to his planet, and they have a celebration where they, much like our Christmas, where they celebrate his birth. And he goes into all these details, and he tells us that aliens actually had visited Earth since the time of the dinosaurs, and that's over 60 million years. So they've been around for a long time. And I'm telling you, in the beginning, I had trouble believing it, but by the time we got 100 hours into it or so, I totally believe everything that he told us. He would explain things, and I'd be totally incapable of understanding what he was saying.
Now, you said some key things there, Barry. You said one that we're the I guess we have the shortest lifespan of all species out there. Did Mu explain why we have the shortest lifespan? Is it lifestyle? Is it the constraints of our planet? Did he say why we live such a short lifespan?
Well, we're a very, very young culture.
Okay.
And the advanced cultures all get along. They learned long ago with the energy and the abilities they have that self-destruction was not the way to go. So advanced cultures get along. It's only the younger cultures, and he said we're not the only ones. He said there are other young cultures in our galaxy. He actually said we're not as violent as some of the other ones, which is a little hard to believe.
Really?
But as we evolve, our lifetimes will grow longer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think they only want to let us screw up so long at this point. So they only give us a few years. My guess is on Mu's planet, when they started out, they had shorter lives too, and they've evolved now through medical information and all the stuff that they have, that they have pre-planned lives, and apparently 950 years is the average time, and it's in their life plans that they just simply don't go any longer and give another soul a chance.
Did he say anything about the quality of their physical life in that 950 years? Because we look at the quality of our life as we age here on this planet, and we can go through some rough physical stuff. I mean, you talk about disease, and there's that key to that word, dis-ease. There's a lot of it on this planet, and it starts relatively young now, and we do self-inflict.
Oh, absolutely.
And did he say anything about disease on his planet? And is it virtually non-existent? I mean,
it's virtually non-existent. They don't actually. Everything's for the common good. They don't actually have jobs. They have like assignments that they do.
Okay.
There are many planets where things go very well. They tell us there's actually planets out there that totally follow the commands of God. There's no fighting, no arguing. It's like there are planets out there where it's like a utopia.
Very interesting. The other thing that you had mentioned too, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there in what you had mentioned. You had mentioned that they worship our God, which that would seem to me, okay, I'm going to unpack this, and this is going to be, I think, a whole discussion too here. That would mean that there are other gods, which again, we're probably going to piss some people off. That would mean that there are other gods within the galaxy, not just a god. So does that mean that our God is the God that created the universe, or that there are many gods that are worshipped, but one creator overall? Sort that out for me.
Well, that's a little heavy stuff there. Now, we're told that our God controls our galaxy. Now, most people don't understand the size of the universe compared to the size of the galaxy.
Okay.
If you took every star in our galaxy and think of that star as a grain of sand, our galaxy is so huge that the sand would fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Okay.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
But then if you think of every star that is in the universe, it would be represented by a grain of sand, every grain of sand on our planet. That's how huge this thing is. There are actually billions of galaxies, which means there are trillions of stars. I mean, it's just, the size is totally incomprehensible. And that was something I tried to get at in this new book, was comparing size. And apparently each galaxy, we are told that each galaxy has its own God. So our God controls the Milky Way, and there are gods who control the other galaxy. So there are many. We're even told that there's a pecking order of the gods out there, and it comes down to that there are like three that are in control. That are the chief Supreme Court gods. I guess you could put them that way.
Supreme Court gods.
I just threw that in.
No, I know. I hear you. That's
little current events.
Timely, yeah, timely. Do they like beer? That's what I want to know. No.
I could ask that.
You could, please do.
Yeah, that was a big thought.
That is a big thought.
It took me a couple of years to understand this one. Yeah,
but then in that, I guess that I'm still trying to nail you down to this. In that, does that mean that does that mean that the God that we pray to is still the God that created all of this?
He was part of the creation, yes.
Okay. Part of it.
Part of it.
Part of it. But not all of it.
But not all of it.
Interesting. Interesting. That's kind of dodgy there, Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a big concept. I mean,
it is a big concept.
I don't pretend to understand it all.
Okay.
I mean, one night.
So did he truly create the heavens and the earth? Is that when they say that in the Bible, he created the heavens and the earth? Should we stick to the literal interpretation of that?
Yes, heaven and earth were created, but it was created through natural occurrences. But he guided the creation, just like the other planets in our galaxy were created, just like suns are created. So
he had a hand in it. That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So we shouldn't. How do I want to phrase this? So it's neither.
I can tell from your stuttering this may be my last time.
No. No, I'm trying to think of a delicate way to put this, because you've got creationism and you've got the Big Bang Theory, and somewhere in there's a right answer. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, sure.
So neither one's right.
Neither one's right. Correct. The Big Bang is part of the creation, but we actually questioned him on this, and he said the Big Bang is part of it, but the other part of it is far too complicated for you to comprehend. So, yes, it's a combination.
Very interesting. My mind's a little blown right now. I'm not going to lie. So I think at that point, I need to reset. I think this is a good point to reset. When we come back, we'll talk to Barry a little bit more about his conversations with Mu, and we'll talk about not only these billions of galaxies that are sitting out there, but how do you keep them all straight? What type of races are out there, and whether these races actually want to communicate with us, and why are they waiting so long? Why is it, obviously we see these ships that come to us. what are their purposes here, and are they actually going to make contact with us? Are they making contact with us, and what is it exactly that's making contact with us? Are they the best of the best or the worst of the worst? We'll find out from Barry here in the second half of the program. But first,
stay tuned. We have more of the best in paranormal talk radio coming your way. But right now, it's time to open up the Darkhives. Today's Theater of the Mind with special guest reader Nix. We Are Not Alone. The real-life encounter shared by Aaron G.
When my daughter was 4, we moved into a new home. At first, she was excited, but it wasn't long before she started saying she didn't like the house. She would say it was scary and that she wanted to go stay at her grandma's. At first, I figured it was just a new place and it would take her some time to get used to it. But since it was summer, I let her go ahead and stay at her grandmother's for a while. It wasn't long, though, before I began to understand her reason for not wanting to be there. I would hear strange, unexplainable noises and always felt as if I was being watched. The feeling in the home became very uncomfortable. Summer was soon over and she would be starting her first year in school, so no more spending the night at Grandma's. She was still so uneasy about the home that she started collecting crosses, rosary beads my dad had given her, anything she could find that she thought might protect her, and would place them in and about her room. She even took a few gargoyles from my collection, since I had once told her that they protected the house. One night, it was time for her to get into the bath and start getting ready for bed. So I placed her in the tub and went about picking up the house a bit. One rule she had was not to stand up in the tub or to get out on her own to avoid any slips or falls. She was pretty good at following this rule. So I was caught off guard as I passed the bathroom to put something in another room and took a quick glance in and saw she was standing at the sink. I didn't stop and look in. I looked in as I was walking by, so it took a moment and a couple of steps past the bathroom for it to register that she was out of the tub. So I quickly went back to get after her, only to find her sitting in the tub, playing with her toys. There had been no splash of water, as if she had noticed me walk by and tried to jump back in before I caught her. Nor was there any water on the ground where I'd seen her standing. So I stood there for a moment trying to understand what I just saw. I guess she noticed the confusion or concern on my face because she asked, "Is something wrong, Mommy?" I had no explanation for what had just happened, so I told her nothing was wrong. I was just checking on her and asked if she was ready to get out. She wasn't, so I let her stay and play a bit longer while I returned to what I had been doing. I did, however, check on her a little more often and tried to catch another glimpse of what I had seen. I finished cleaning, so I sat at the dining room table and was watching TV while she played a bit longer in the tub, splashing happily, giggling from time to time. But where I was sitting, I could see partially down the hallway and see the doorway of my bedroom, which was right across from the bathroom. Like I said, I was watching TV, which was straight in front of me, and the hallway was to my right. After a few minutes, out of the corner of my eye, I started seeing movement in my bedroom doorway. A very uneasy feeling came over me. I knew it wasn't my daughter I was seeing. Whatever it was too tall to be her, and it was white in color. With what I had seen and experienced earlier still on my mind, I was scared and afraid to turn my head and look directly at it. I tried my best to see what I could out of the corner of my eye. All I could tell was it was tall, white, and it moved erratically. I told myself, "You have to look. Your daughter is right across the hall. Look." So I finally got up the nerve and turned towards it quickly. And as I did, it moved backwards into my room. I still did not get a good enough look to tell you exactly what it was, but I saw something white move into my room. My heart almost stopped. Needless to say, I was terrified. I was left with the thought that I have to get my daughter. I slowly stood up and then ran towards the bedroom door. I grabbed the knob and shut the door forcefully. Then I made my way to her room to shut her bedroom door as well. I'm not sure what this was supposed to do exactly, but it made me feel a little better. I didn't want to scare my daughter any more than I already knew she was at this place, so before entering the bathroom, I took a few deep breaths and tried to calm myself. I told her it was time to get out and get ready for bed. She did so without a fight, but as she was getting out, she said something that sent chills down my spine. "Mommy, someone is here." I didn't know what to say. I wanted her to know she wasn't the only one experiencing these things and that I believed her. But I didn't want to frighten her either. So all I could think to say was, "I know, baby. I know." I wish now I would have maybe asked her perhaps who or what was there. Maybe get a little bit more information from her, but I think at the time I was too scared to know the answer. Strange things did continue after this, but our stay there was short. Sadly, my daughter now has no memory of this, so I still have no answer as to who or what she believed to be there that night. And maybe it's for the best.
Beyond the darkness.
Welcome back to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I am Tim Dennis, here with Barry Strohm, and we are talking about the new book, Spirits Speak of the Universe, Extraterrestrials, Spirituality, and Our Galaxy. It is available now. Barry, where can people get the book?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or you can come onto one of my websites. You can get spiritspredict.com, or I have a second site called wordsofgodthenandnow.com.
There you go.
If you want a signed copy, come to the websites. If you want a cheaper copy, go to Amazon.
All right. And we'll direct you to those links on the description for the show as well. So you can get either or. You can either get the copy on Amazon or you can get the autographed copy as well. All right. When we left you before Theater of the Mind, we were talking about Mu, who was the alien spirit guide that you were talking to, who was trying to set you straight on the way the universe worked. And I was trying to wrap my head around who exactly created this whole thing when we had left you before. Now, here's the question, Barry. We've got this big, wide, huge universe that we can barely wrap our head around. But in that, we've had visitations ever since, even before Roswell, because even when I filled in for Dave on Midnight in the Desert, we were talking about Mo 41, which was a visitation we had even before Roswell. And we've had, I'd say, as we've been documenting it, maybe we could say maybe even over the last 100 years. Let's call it that. We've had visits from other planets that we can document. But you say that they've been keeping tabs on us since the days of the dinosaurs. So I'll ask you this question: Why? Why do they want to keep tabs on us?
Well, they want souls and beings to evolve. They want people. They want to create different types of life, and they want people to evolve. They want them to become, let's say, more like God. I mean, that's what your soul's attempting to do. They create life on the other planets. They nurture it, and they mean us no harm. I mean, they've been here. He tells us the time of the dinosaurs. One of the earliest recorded crop circles. There's actually a woodcut engraving that dates back to the 1650s, where they talk where they show a crop circle and they refer to it as a mowing devil. So you can talk of that. I mean, there's documented appearances long before anything can be imagined. The Nazca lines. You had to have an extraterrestrial influence to build those lines. Anybody's familiar with them. You can go further back than that. There are incidences in the Bible that describe alien presence. In my book, I actually go through and I show you, and I talk about the different biblical references to alien presence. Ezekiel's wheel, for instance, that was a visitation. When you go into the details of that, they are clearly describing a space vehicle, but they have to use the vernacular of their time. They could refer to gods and birds and lightning and things like that, but they didn't have the ability to describe what they were seeing. The proof of alien visitation is just overwhelming if you want to take time to read it.
So they come here to nurture life, but yet we hear modern day stories. I can only refer to modern day and what's been reported to us in modern day vernacular as what I guess we hear modern day nightmares of probes and things being put in people's bodies, and we've heard of course, the almighty anal probe, which nobody wants to talk about. Things like that, things that could be misconstrued as not quite inviting, violations, for lack of a better term. Where are these things coming from? We hear about grays, we hear about, lizard-like creatures. We hear about these things that are not quite friendly. Put it that way. What does Moo have to say about these species?
Well, actually, what they're doing is research. They're trying to understand how man is trying to kill itself. We are told that they actually did not want us to refer to abductions by that name. They wanted them to call them learning sessions, because people are taken and generally they don't remember what goes on. Mm-hmm. But if they find something wrong with a person, they'll often cure it. So sometimes that's why you see these miracle healings, that these people have actually been abducted and have been returned healed. 90% of the people don't realize it. My wife Connie's been abducted. We didn't realize, we knew something took place, but it wasn't until we could talk to Moo that he told us what really happened to her. So abductions are much more common than anybody will ever understand. And there are many, many more alien types on our planet than anybody will ever understand. When we were talking, there's a chapter in my book where he tells us about the different types of vehicles. He tells us that the vehicles range in size from the size of a baseball to one the size of the United States.
Whoa.
Yeah, a big boy. At the time I wrote the book, they had it hidden behind the planet Saturn, and that's what they were using as their base to come back and forth. But I asked him, I said, Moo, how many different alien types would be on a ship the size of the United States? And his answer was over 250 different types. We are so underestimating what goes on out there in that galaxy.
So let me back up here. How did you find out, or did Connie even figure out that she had been abducted? Did she have memories of being abducted?
She didn't remember the abduction itself. What happened, we were living in Florida at the time. Mm-hmm. She drops me off at the Fort Lauderdale airport, and she's driving north on I-95, going back home. And all of a sudden, she realizes that she's 3 exits north of the last thing she remembers. So somehow or other, she covers around 20 miles of I-95 with absolutely no memory. Now, you don't fall asleep on I-95 and live.
Right.
For anybody that's ever driven down there.
Yeah.
So at the time, the last thing on my mind, I was working in the stone quarries, and last thing on my mind is aliens. So I didn't really I thought we couldn't figure it out. We took her to the doctors. They did the test. Doctor says she fell asleep. There's no way she fell asleep and lives.
Right.
So anyway, we are now 20 years advanced, and we have the ability to talk to Moo. So one night we're channeling with him, and I said, Moo, was Connie abducted? And he says, yes. And I said, well, how'd they do it? And he comes back and he says, well, it's easy if you know how. And I said, don't be a smart ass. Tell us how he did it. So
I love that you called an alien a smart ass.
Yeah, well, we're pretty close. So anyway, he says, what we did is we put a shapeshifter in the car, and the shapeshifter drove the car for those 20 miles, and she was taken up into the ship, and they did a download of information for her and put her back in the car. Snap your fingers, and she's back and drive on, and she had no clue what took place. And she did. When she did, we did notice that there was like a little indentation mark on her head that she didn't have before. So that's how it happened.
And did she feel any pain from it? Was there any side effects?
She had no memory. She had no memory of it.
And what was it they claimed they healed from her, or did they heal anything from her?
No, I think it was just basically information. I mean, that's part of her sensitivities now. I mean, most of the people that are really sensitive or psychic have had extraterrestrial experiences. They just may not have realized it.
Huh. Wow. All right. I'm just processing here. That's all. Just processing. I need a moment.
I have seen a real alien.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Tell me about that. Tell me about.
I will.
Okay.
So we have an apartment across the street from the store. So about 3 years ago, and we sleep with a lot of night lights and stuff because we have a black cat and we don't want to kill it when it was stumbling around in the dark. So middle of the night, I wake up and I sit up in bed and I look over and I see this big form standing next to Connie. And it's like 6.5, 7 foot tall. And I'm going, I must be dreaming. So I shake my head, make sure that I'm awake, and I look back at it, and I can tell it's a reptilian form with a short nose, and it looks at me, turns its head, looks at me, and smiles, and then knocks me out. That's the last thing I remember. Okay. So I wake up the next morning, and I said, man, Connie, I don't know if I'm dreaming or what's going on, but I think you may have. I thought they took her on another journey because I thought they were probably abducting her again or downloading info or whatever they do. So I said, I think I saw an alien last night, but let's call our friends in Salt Lake and let's ask Moo what took place. And I tell her nothing about seeing it smile. Okay.
Okay.
So that night we get our friends in Salt Lake City on Skype. Now they have the board in Salt Lake.
Okay.
Connie and I are sitting here in Pennsylvania on Skype. They know nothing what has taken place. So I asked for Moo to come in for him. Moo checks in out there. And I said, Moo, did I see an alien, a real alien last night? And the answer on the board in Salt Lake City is yes. And did you see him smile at you?
No. No.
Think about that.
No. All right, that's a little creepy that the whole thing was smiling at you. But okay, did Moo say why he was there or what
yeah, they were testing to see if I was afraid.
Oh, it's a hell of a way to see if you're afraid.
No, it was amazing. I felt absolutely no fear looking at this thing.
Why didn't you?
It was a test. They're always testing to see if they can push, what they can do, how much I'm capable of being told, that kind of stuff.
I think most of us would have been reaching for whatever weapon we had handy at that point.
And I have one handy and didn't reach for it. Yeah, and I mean, presents take different form. When we had an apartment over in Gettysburg, and I woke up one night, and there was a person standing at the foot of our bed, And I threw the covers off, grabbed my gun out of the bedstand, and looked, and I saw it had a Confederate uniform on. And I looked at it, and it just faded away in front of me. It was the full-bodied apparition of a Confederate soldier who was standing in our bedroom. So, yeah, but that night I went for the gun, I'll tell you. And it was just, it was all kind of weird, actually.
I don't blame you for that. Yeah, anytime there's someone walking around in the house, I think I'd grab.
But that's how real it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
was. I was certain somebody had broken in the apartment that night, but it was Ed, the Confederate soldier.
See, I got a bat too at my bedside, and anything that's coming close, I'm taking a swing. I'm just saying, I'm not that far away from my baseball playing days where I won't knock it 300 feet. And just saying. So when we went to break, we were talking about. I can't get off the subject. I don't know why. We were talking about different gods, and God had a hand in making this planet and galaxy and the Milky Way. Boy, I want to get into controversial topics today, Barry.
We can do it.
That's where we're at. Now, here's where I want to really stir the pot. So we're talking about these guys coming to visit us and coming to this planet and the different races that are out there and these different races that are coming to visit us. I kind of want to figure out if we're all going to the same place when we die. You're talking about they're having different lifespans and that there are different gods and they have, it seems like Mu is worshiping the same God we are.
Yes, absolutely.
Is Mu going to the same heaven we are?
Yes.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you cross over, you'll see Mu too?
If he's not on a mission. We haven't seen him for a couple of years now. He may have reincarnated. But no, if he's there, I'll probably see him, sure.
So our heaven is the same heaven as some of these aliens or most of these aliens? Or I guess I'm confused. Are we...
Well, no, we all go to the same heaven. There's, other planets. There's heavens on other planets as well, but you can travel back and forth. You're an energy. I've channeled with people on Skype as far away as South Africa, over 8,000 miles, and it's the same energy. I can give them personal information, and it's wild. You just. God is is a universal energy, and our energies can move around when we get over there. You have the ability your energy can actually visit other galaxies if it wants when you get on the other side. You can come back or not come back. You've got free will if your soul wants to reincarnate in a form, or you can choose to reincarnate on another planet.
Wouldn't you feel lost, though, if that's not your culture? I mean, if it's something you're not used to?
No. You've only had the ability to reincarnate as a human for 200,000 years. You've had the ability to reincarnate on other planets for maybe 1 billion years. So your soul could actually be more at home on other planets than you are on Earth.
Have you, in your time doing this, have you run into people who just feel like they don't belong here at all?
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. We run into a lot of souls that aren't going to reincarnate back here because being human is not easy. It's a rough learning process. So, I mean, if you had a choice, wouldn't you rather go to a planet where everything is peaceful and happy?
Yeah, yeah. To be honest,
yeah. You pick coming back here because your soul has to gain experience to advance. So there are lessons you have to learn and emotions of being a human. They tell us on the other planets there's emotions that we have no way to understand because we've never experienced them. There's all sorts of things that we can't understand on other planets. Just like when our scientists look look for Earth, they think that life, you have to have oxygen and hydrogen, and it has to be a planet like Earth is to have life. Well, that's not true. You have beings out there, light beings, for instance. You have beings on planets where they breathe nitrogen. Mu breathed a nitrogen-rich atmosphere on his planet. So it's once you start speaking about extraterrestrial life, all the rules have changed. It's not what you think it is.
All right. Again, wrapping my head around around that. So you can
It took me a while to wrap my head around it too, and I'm still not totally wrapped.
So physically, no, okay. So spiritually, I can move around from galaxy to galaxy. Physically, can I move around from galaxy to galaxy? Because science tells me I can't. Science tells me, you know what, and especially lately. As we're looking at other worlds, as we're kind of doing what we're doing, whatever it is we're doing to our world, depending on what side of the fence you fall on, we're looking at other worlds, or NASA's telling us, you know what, there is a world that may be somewhat habitable, but it's a few light years away, or it's so many light years away, we'll never get to it, or you know what, we may be able to make Mars somewhat habitable, but it's going to take a few years, and we'll set up colonies here, or Saturn, or wherever it is that we're going to make. Not Saturn, but Mars. I think is where they're talking about the next colony. There's I think wasn't they found frozen water on Mars? Is what it was.
Yeah, sure.
So
there used to be life on Mars. They lost their atmosphere.
So that's the next thing that the next big thing that we talk about in practical. I'll use the word in quotes here, Barry. Practical terms is what NASA or Elon Musk or any of those guys would talk about, as far as what we can do practically to get to other planets. Is that it? Is that what we should listen to? That's what we can do as far as travel goes, or getting to other planets, or even time travel. That's it. We should shut it down from there, or is there more according to Mu?
No, there's much more to it. There's all these things that we totally don't understand. For instance, Mu tells us that he can travel from his planet on the far side of the Milky Way to Earth in about 48 hours. Now, look at it like this. It took 35 years for our Voyager 1 to reach interstellar space. That's where the sun's gravity doesn't have any effect. Now, with our current technology, it would take Voyager 1 another 40,000 years to reach the nearest star. Do you really think they're using our technology? No. They use it's a lot. They use a molecular teleportation. It's a lot like the "Beam Me Up, Scotty" thing that you saw in the movie.
Yep.
So there are technologies out there that we have not even conceived of yet, and that's what is required when the time comes. I asked Mu when he thought we'd be ready to travel the stars, and he said it would take about 200 more years to advance to that point.
Is it just our own growth as far as our knowledge of the universe? And why don't they give us that help to get us there? Why don't we get that push?
You are getting that push. That's the only reason you can do what you're doing.
Who's giving it? Who's giving it to us, though?
Different alien types are giving it to you. We're working with aliens. This is a big secret.
But I don't know that I should ask this question. Who exactly is working with them, though?
Our government is, for one. When they helped us develop the atom bomb, they gave us our basic stealth technology. They've been a huge help through the years. The MRI machine, for instance. In my book, I give a whole list of things that they've contributed to us. They helped with the Salk polio vaccine. Einstein's grandfather was actually a Palladian, so that's how he gets the the ability with that great brain ability that he had.
He was a Palladian.
His grandfather was.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How do you... okay, wait a minute. So, how do you know that Einstein's grandfather was a Palladian?
Well, all the great minds have got... look, you cannot tell a Palladian. They have the same characteristics. I've actually been introduced to one.
Okay.
And she's a great psychic. She's got incredible abilities. But they walk among us. It's just basically that simple.
Well, what characteristics do they have? It sounded like you were going to say what characteristics they have.
Well, the Palladians look like us. They're people that can change shapeshifters. I used to kid my granddaughters about watching stories about shapeshifters, and then all of a sudden I find out that they're real. So there's many among us. We just don't understand it.
But is there a characteristic you can look for where you could point somebody out and say, that's got to be a Palladian? Is there something discernible about them?
No. You simply can't tell. This friend of mine she didn't even know it. She knew she had been abducted multiple times,
mm-hmm.
and she's got these great psychic abilities. But she did not know it until they told her about it. And she said, I kind of thought that, but I couldn't prove it.
So I wasn't a great study in school, Barry, but in order for Einstein's grandfather to be a Palladian, that means that there had to be some bow chicka wow wow going on between a Palladian and a human. Am I right there?
Correct, yes.
Which means that there's some crossbreeding going on between...
Absolutely. They tell us Connie and I have alien blood.
Really?
Yeah, that's part of the reasons I can do what I do.
Does that alarm you?
Not a bit, no.
No?
Because I understand it.
You understand it. I don't. I'm having a hard time. I know I have no alien blood in me because I'm not wrapping my head around this at all. I know some people in our audience are going, "Why are you so dense, Tim?" But to me,
how do you know you don't?
You want to know how I know I don't?
Mm-hmm.
I will actually tell you how I know I don't. People are going to roll their eyes when I tell them. People are familiar who have been listening to Beyond the Darkness or even Darkness Radio with Rita the Angel Reader, who has been a good friend of the show for a while. And Rita had been she was doing one of her sessions at her house. And I was sitting in with a big group, and everybody was kind of expounding on how they had these past lives as aliens and whatnot. She came around to me, or they all came around to me, and I totally don't relate at all to any of these alien past lives. I just, when people are talking about, and I was this on a past life on this planet and blah, 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 to me it's like they're speaking, French or Russian or some foreign language that I just don't know. Actually, I do know a little French, so I can't lie there. It's like they're speaking a foreign language to me, and I just am in the room and I have no idea. And Rita looks at me and goes, "Tim has had no past lives as an alien." And I knew it. It just resonated with me. I know it. Like the back of your hand, like yourself, like anything. I just knew at that point, yeah, you're right. I've had no past lives as an alien.
Where was your soul before 200,000 years ago?
It's good question, but I don't think it was in the stars. I know that.
Well, you had to be what we would refer to as an alien. Don't forget the aliens refer to us as aliens.
I don't know, Barry, but I don't. I've always, when I was younger, when I was probably anywhere from the age of 8 to 10, I used to look at the different planets and the stars with kind of a wonder, like they were new, like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But I never looked at it like, oh, that's home, or you know, like I've been out in that area before, or that feels like, you know, like I've traveled there before, or it looked brand new, fresh, like an area I'd want to explore, but not. To me, it looked like something brand spanking new. It didn't look like anywhere I'd ever been before. And to me, it kind of rings true. You know, that I don't think I've ever had an alien past life or anything.
Had to.
Had to?
Absolutely had to.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your soul, I mean, when you think of everlasting life, it is the everlasting soul energy that you have. That soul energy has been around long before humans. And I guarantee you that your soul had to advance before this lifetime. Like, you've had thousands of lifetimes before this. Your soul had to be somewhere during this process.
Maybe it was just chilling. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I was in a dinosaur. I have no idea. I don't know.
But it had to be somewhere. I mean, you weren't just, floating around out there. Your soul had to evolve. That's the whole purpose of reincarnating.
Sure.
If they told us that if you have an incarnate life now, you have had many incarnate lives prior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of math,
Sure.
If aliens have visited Earth for 60, 70 million years,
mm-hmm.
they had to obtain the ability to travel before that. So there are planets and beings out there that have existed for hundreds of millions of years and have evolved. And your soul and those lines were part of those other environments. Look, the Bible even teaches reincarnation. Okay? It states that Elijah returns as John the Baptist. That's in Matthew. So reincarnation is absolutely real.
Oh, I'm not doubting reincarnation. Don't get me wrong. To me, and again, supposedly being a good Catholic boy, I don't doubt reincarnation in the slightest. To me, I mean, you see plenty of physical evidence of it in different cases, and we've covered reincarnation on different shows, and you see, when you see different cases of like a boy in India who wakes up one day and has bullet marks in his skin and wakes up and says, I can name my accuser. He shot me in this life. This was my name. This was my wife in this previous life, and these were my children. And he's 6 years old and can go to that village that he was shot in and can point to the place where he was shot and knows his wife and children. And he's 6, I mean, things like that, you can't deny,
Well, I can prove my prior life. I was a Confederate soldier that fought at Gettysburg. That's why I've always been drawn there.
Mm-hmm.
Once we learn to channel and talk to them, I can actually go out and talk to the spirits on the battlefield that I fought with. I took a group of 4 people out last fall, and I was a Confederate captain. And I was in the 31st Virginia Regiment. Know exactly where I fought. So I have a ghost box with me. So I take it out, and I have 4 witnesses with me on the battlefield. I walk up to where I know that I had fought, and I turn on the ghost box, and I say, guys, do you recognize me? And over the ghost box, you can hear the spirit say, yes, sir, Captain. And 4 people heard that.
Wow.
So, I mean, I know an awful lot about reincarnation.
Yeah, I don't doubt reincarnation. I don't feel.
But look at the history of it. Think about where you had to be before humans walked the earth. We're a new species.
Yeah, well, sure. But see, there's and Barry, I can tell you this. I go to Colorado. I feel like I'm home. I go to, I see different images on, like the first time I watched Shogun, I felt like when I saw Japan, like, that area of feudal Japan, I felt like I at a young age, I felt like I had seen home. Mm-hmm. There were different things I had seen that I thought, looked like I had been there in a previous incarnation. But
you probably have.
Yeah, but when somebody says to me, "Oh, you like now you're saying to me, oh, you had to be an alien," I go, "No, that doesn't ring a bell. No, it just doesn't. I don't. It's not that I'm denying it or going, oh no, like it's a pair of clothes that doesn't fit me right. It just doesn't resonate with me. It in a way that somebody who is allergic to spinach, it doesn't, it just doesn't, no matter how much you're going to feed me spinach, I'm still, my throat's going to close, that type of.
I didn't say it was easy to comprehend.
No, it's not that I'm not comprehending it either.
Yeah. It's just that, to believe.
Right. Yeah. And it's not that I don't believe it either. It's just that, it just doesn't ring. It doesn't resonate with me. It's not one. I don't know. I guess it's, it's one of those things that, people could tell me, you were Benjamin Franklin's love slave. Well, you know what? That doesn't resonate with me either. I don't think I was tied up by a kite string and spanked in the ass until it was red. It doesn't resonate with me. It's not one. And please don't get that image in your head, folks. That's not.
I don't. I was starting to stutter.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to see the memes of that one. But it just doesn't. It doesn't resonate with me. It's just not one of those things. I suppose I should move on to a different topic now, shouldn't I? Let's talk about this. In your book, we talk about order here on our planet, and it's very disorganized and chaotic. And you were talking about earlier that there were that ship that sat behind, I think you said it was Saturn that it sat behind, that had up to 250 different alien types, and that they're here
a couple of years ago. That's where it was.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is now.
Okay, and that they're here basically to kind of nurture us along and basically to kind of help us develop. Here's the thing, though. We're a pretty chaotic planet, and it doesn't seem like we're getting any better. In fact, it seems like throughout the years, we tend to be getting worse. And we tend to be, I don't know, kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, as it were. I like my little sayings here, especially how ironic they are with my feet. Yet, in your book, you cite that there is a galactic committee out there. That they do kind of oversee the galaxy. How come no one's really overseeing us or putting the clamps down on us? We seem to be getting more and more violent throughout the years.
We have free will, and we have to learn to use it to our advantage. We are told multiple times that if humans want to wipe themselves off the face of the earth, they're going to let us do it, because that's part of evolution. They tell us that from war that you learn compromise, and we have to learn to compromise. And if apparently there were 3 different seeding attempts of humans on Earth, so the first 2 didn't make it, and there's nobody saying the third's going to make it either. So it's up to humans to evolve to the point that they can travel the stars, and if they got to learn to get along to do it, and sometimes when things get really bad, you actually learn that you have to cooperate with each other. The aliens learned this millions of years ago. With their incredible power and abilities, they learned that self-destruction was not was not going to lead to their advancement. So it's just, it's the way things are. You're either going to learn or you aren't.
But here's the again, me with the issues. Here's the issue I have with that. If you're to, as a committee, if you're to kind of reign over the galaxy, make sure there's order to the galaxy, and you have this warring little planet over here that seems to want to destroy itself, well, to say, well, let them eat cake and let them destroy themselves, aren't you not doing your job as a committee?
No, you're allowing the evolution. The cultures that are on the committee have evolved and have learned. There are many cultures that couldn't learn the lesson and are extinct. So we have free will. We have to learn it on our own. They'll guide us, but if we don't follow the guidance that they give us, then we're headed for problems.
But don't they have a vested interest in the fact that they have not only aliens on this planet, or they have different species on this planet, but they also have hybrids on this planet. They have species that have intermingled with humans on this planet, so they have skin in the game, literally have skin in the game.
Yes.
Why would you just say, well, if they're going to wipe themselves out, we're going to wipe out the experiments that are there too, and we're going to start over? That to me seems like you've invested a lot of time and resources into the planet. Why would you let that all go?
Well, maybe humans are incapable of advancing. Maybe it has to take another form. Maybe gray aliens are what everybody needs. You need to be a gray alien to be able to advance. Maybe you need to be a blue alien. Maybe humans just can't make it. Maybe they're too frail. Maybe they're incapable of learning. Maybe they're just too violent. There's other cultures. There are many cultures out there that have failed in the past.
Something dawned on me when you said that. I'm trying to think of the way to phrase this, because I had it and I lost it for a second there. With the whole, where was I going with this? And it had to do with exactly how many alien species are on the Earth right now. Has Moo told you exactly how many species are here?
Yeah, we did. I think we described like 12 in my book that are here.
And has he mentioned in those species that are here, has he said, does he consider like Sasquatch one of those or?
No, Sasquatch is not an alien.
No?
No, it's a multidimensional being, humanoid being.
Okay. And what is he? Can you tell us what those 12 are? Has he said what those 12 are, or has he just said there's 12?
No, we went through, I think, 12 different ones that are here on the chapter. There's grays, there's shapeshifters, Palladians, all the usual ones you hear about.
There's something you put here that said that they visit us like humans go to the zoo to watch the animals.
Correct. Yeah, we go to zoos to watch the animals. They get permission to come here to Earth and watch the humans. It's
kind of embarrassing if you think about it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things humans do that we should be embarrassed about.
I mean, are we really that simple?
Yes. Yeah, we are so primitive we can't comprehend it. Yeah, if the aliens meant us harm, we would be harmed. We'd be long gone. They could wipe out humanity in 2 minutes if they wish to do it. They simply do not wish to do it. They want us to advance. They study us. They try to help us. They try to guide us.
Now, Moo has spelled out that there's a treaty having to do with Earth. Explain to me this treaty. What exactly is it?
Well, it's an agreement that our planet has with the aliens. They're allowed to observe us, and we keep it a secret. It's pretty much that simple. And as long as we keep it a secret, they'll continue to give us information and to help us. But we're getting very close to disclosure because things are starting to happen. A lot going on down in Antarctica, for instance. That'll probably be the trigger for it. Moo tells us we're going to have disclosure by 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
Why now? I guess I would ask the question. I know why we're so eager to have disclosure. I think we think that we're in an age where innocence is dead. That we need to know that we can handle it. Does Moo think that we can handle disclosure? That if we found out tomorrow that we'd be fine with it?
Well, we're getting closer. In 1938, the radio show War of the Worlds was an experiment to see just how humans were ready to learn about alien presence. And it proved that we weren't. So things are happening. We're seeing, for instance, the internet allows more and more discussion, more photographs. There's a lot taking place. People are becoming more and more aware of what's going on around us. And I think they're reaching a point now that they feel they can disclose their presence.
I'll ask this question. It's not a loaded question, but the Hollywood movies that we see, the TV shows that we see, the science fiction shows that we see, a lot of people will say, well, that's just baiting us to get us ready for disclosure, to get us ready for the fact that aliens are real, that eventually we'll get to see these creatures, that we'll see them up close. And when we see them up close, we won't be so surprised.
Oh, you'll be surprised. There are... I'll give you an example of what's out there. If you look at the Nazca lines in Peru, there is the shape of a huge spider.
Okay.
And I have a picture of it in the book. And I asked him, I said, what does that shape stand for? And he said, that is the alien type that was helping the people. They were spider people. I said, how tall did that spider stand? And he said, between 6 and 7 feet. So... yeah, you wake up in the middle of an abduction and you see a 7-foot spider looking at you, you're going to know what fear really is. So it's there's a lot to get used to.
But if the Peruvian people back then were not in fear of a, what did you say, 9-foot spider?
A 6 to 7 foot.
6 to 7 foot spider that was helping them, why would people in 2020 be afraid of alien races that are coming to help them now? Is it because we have bigger guns?
It's just a fear of the unknown. It's simply a fear of the unknown. People fear anything that's different. And believe me, when you start to see these beings, they're going to be different. In my book, I have a sketch of a being from another galaxy. Moo described it, and I had an artist draw the picture.
Okay.
And it looks like nothing that you'll ever see on this planet. So it's... Yeah, I think to the old original Star Wars where they were in the bar scene where they're all sitting around with all these different alien types. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot like that when it happens.
But you would think after seeing what it'll be by 2020, it'll be 9 Star Wars films and a few other satellite films. You would think we'd be used to these by now. That this is no big deal. We've seen Star Trek. We've seen Star Wars. We've seen all these different films with different life forms. You would think it'd be a walk in the park. We go, oh, yeah, seen that before in a film.
Well, it's a little different seeing a 6-foot spider in your backyard and going to the movies. But no, it's all part of it. All these movies are all part of us getting ready for disclosure. It's all part of the plan.
So we've got choices then as we move into the future. I mean, obviously we have choices every day. When we wake up, we can choose to make it a great day. We can choose to make it a terrible day. We can choose to, embrace war or peace. We can choose to embrace whether we're going to go out into traffic and get in an accident. We can choose to embrace whether we're going to have a nice, peaceful drive to work. It just depends on what we choose to embrace when we wake up.
Correct.
What do we have to do when we wake up in the morning and let's say spaceship lands on let me ask you this. how are they going to make themselves known? Has Mu told you this is how we're going to make ourselves known, and how should we approach it when they make themselves known?
No, he's kept that a secret.
He's kept it a secret. So he hasn't said, you know what, in order to make it a little bit easier for you, this is how we're going to do it.
Well, he's told us that all the stuff going on around us, the movies, the internet, that's all part of the indoctrination program to prepare us for the time when they say, yes, there is life, alien life among us.
So there's no cushioning the blow at all. This is just when they choose to do it, it's surprise.
Well, it's going to slip out. But,
okay.
You know, that's why the Secretary of State rushed to Antarctica a couple years ago. It almost slipped out there because things kind of almost got out of control. But it's going to happen. And he's saying by 2020.
So let me ask you a little bit about some of the mysteries out there as we start to wrap up the program here today. Some of the mysteries that are out there that we've always heard about that may or may not be a little controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Nibiru, Planet X.
Yes.
A lot of people say, well, the practical say doesn't exist. The people that are out there say, oh, it does exist. It's just a hidden planet. Is it real?
Nibiru isn't, but there are like 3 planetary bodies out there that we haven't discovered yet, or that they're not telling us about.
That they aren't telling us about.
Correct.
Okay. So there is a hidden mystery out there. We just don't know.
There is definitely a hidden mystery out there.
Okay. The origin of our moon, is there some hidden origin we don't know about?
No. The moon was created when a planet collided with early Earth, and that's basically a piece of Earth that broke off.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I have a train approaching on the railroad tracks outside, so you'll soon hear whistles.
That's fine. It's no big deal. Every once in a while, I have a truck or two that goes by my window here, so it's not a big deal. It's a podcast. We're not.
Just warning you.
Not a big deal. Do we have a deep space fleet? Now, President Trump has talked about putting together Space Force, and I think people kind of giggled when he did. Mm-hmm. But is there such a thing as a secret space program or a Space Force out there already?
No, there's no secret Space Force now.
No. Oh, there's the train.
Yep, told you.
Yeah.
I could hear it coming.
Not a big deal. But do we have a deep space fleet already?
No.
Okay. Black holes, what's the deal with those? Is there something that the aliens know about them that we don't? Or are they as far as we know, they're a devastating force, much like, tornadoes here on Earth. You go into them, you don't necessarily come out of them. Is there anything more to them that we should know about them?
No, they're a very interesting phenomena. They're very destructive, and there's some of them are just incredibly huge out there. There's a lot to learn about black holes, and there are, even Moose said we don't know what happens to anybody that goes into a black hole because they don't come out.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people for years had theories that, with a black hole, maybe there's something on the other side and blah, blah, blah. Nobody ever comes out. You don't know that.
They don't have any idea. Right.
Dark matter and dark energy. That's always been the one that, I think quantum physicists try to put together, it's a what if type deal as far as physicists are concerned. Does Moose shed any light on dark matter and dark energy? Is there...
Well, let's put it this way. He tries to, and it's so complex. I wrote what he said, and I don't understand it. A lot of the stuff that he gives us, and he'll just say, "There's no way you're going to understand this," and he's correct. There is no way I can comprehend some of it. But I did put down what he told us about it, and it is in the book.
All right, and the last question of the evening here, Barry. Has Moo shed any light on if we just so happen to do a reversed visitation? Put it this way. If we did strike out on our own, we had our own let's put it this way. If President Trump does put together the Space Force, we go out into space, or NASA does go out into space, and we just do happen to make contact with aliens on the outside, or other civilizations. I'll quit calling them aliens. Mm-hmm. We make contact with another civilization. Will they be as open to us as we would like them to be, or will they hide? Will they not necessarily make themselves known? Do they feel like we're not ready for them?
No. By the time we have the ability to meet them, they'll be open with it. We'll know here on Earth that they exist at that point.
But until then, they would not make themselves known.
Until then, no. It's part of the agreement that they'll keep quiet until there's an agreed time when disclosure takes place.
So was it really a waste of time for us to go to Mars and to the moon to go exploring? Were they kind of empty missions?
No. We saw aliens when we were on the moon. Yeah, when the orbiting ship came from the backside of the moon, mm-hmm. and you heard the comment, the astronaut said, "I can assure you that Santa Claus does exist." Santa Claus was a code name for aliens. He saw them on the backside.
Okay. So at that point, we'd seen it, confirmed it, and nobody picked up on it?
Oh, NASA did.
NASA did. Okay.
Yeah.
But NASA has not come out and directly said there's alien life. They wouldn't do that for fear of, widespread panic?
No, it's the agreement. They can't disclose yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's what I got for you today. Now, tell. I got to. This is enough just for me to sit and ruminate for a few hours in a room by myself. I don't know about the rest of our audience. Tell people again. The name of the book is "Spirits Speak of the Universe: Extraterrestrials, Spirituality, and Our Galaxy." And Barry, tell people again the website where they can get autographed copies of the book.
I have two websites you can get them on. One is called spiritspredict.com. I have a Facebook group by the name of Words of God Then and Now, and I also have a website by the same name, wordsofgodthenandnow.com. You can go onto there. You can go in and actually view our different channeling sessions on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's under my name, Barry Strohm. You can click in and watch, and I actually have 2 videos up where we channel with animals, which are very funny. We did 2 sessions channeling with our cats, and their answers are absolutely amazing. So kind of easy to catch up with. You can send me a friend request on Facebook if you want.
Please do. And yeah, and I encourage people to. And I know animals are a huge passion of our show and a lot of our audience. And we had John, we were talking about talking to animal spirits on one other show. And it got a huge reception from people. And I encourage people to check out Barry both on the YouTube channel and the Facebook channel, the Words of God Facebook channel as well. I know after we did the last show on Beyond the Darkness, there was a huge response on your Facebook channel. And I encourage people to check out Barry online, because there's lots of good stuff there, and lots of good stuff with the talking board as well. And again, we'll have links up on on the description of this podcast to where you can find Barry. And check them out. It's some very, very interesting stuff. And again, a very interesting book. I just, like I said, Barry, a lot of stuff to read. I've read the book, and I've paged through the book a few different times. And I tell you, man, I try to wrap my head around the. I know that sometimes I'm a little dense, but I try to wrap my head around some of the alien stuff sometimes. But I'm still doing it. I'm still.
Hey, I didn't even believe in ghosts 10 years ago. Look how much I've had to wrap my head around.
It's not that I don't believe in aliens. It's just that it's not like I'm necessarily putting a shingle out on my front lawn either, saying come on by. But it's it's one of those things that it's one of those things I guess we both have to warm up to each other, because they haven't necessarily made themselves known to me, but I haven't made myself known to them either, I guess. So.
There will be a time. There will be a time.
There will be a time. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. Barry, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for putting up with it, Tim. It's always fun.
Yeah, it is very fun. And Barry Strohm, everybody, be sure to check him out in the new book, Spirits Speak of the Universe, Extraterrestrials, Spirituality, and Our Galaxy.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thank you all for tuning in and spending some time here with us. Remember, we have a brand new True Crime Tuesday coming up this week. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the time to do it, because if you subscribe now and keep that subscription, maintain it all the way through to January 1st of 2019, you're automatically entered into a drawing to win $500 of Tim's hard-earned money. Boy, Tim, you have a big heart and obviously a big wallet. No. Thank you for doing this for our listeners, Tim.
I don't really have that big of a wallet.
Well, just go check it out. Go to darknessradio.com, click on the True Crime Tuesday banner, and subscribe now to get your portion of Tim's retirement funds. Oh, don't feel bad. Tim is rolling in tens of dollars, and he wants to share them with you. So this is what you do. Go to darknessradio.com, click on the True Crime Tuesday banner to subscribe right now, and you'll be able to subscribe. Keep that membership through until January 1st, 2019. We'd like you to keep it forever, but if you do it and subscribe right now and keep it through January 1st, you're going to automatically be entered into that drawing at the beginning of the new year for $500 cash. Stop waiting. Stop procrastinating. You love the best in paranormal talk radio. Check out the best in true crime talk radio every Tuesday from your buddies Dave and Tim. Go to darknessradio.com, click on that True Crime Tuesday banner, and subscribe now. And remember, the journey doesn't stop here in the paranormal. You've had a fun weekend with Tim and I. We'll be back again next weekend with more brand new episodes, but you can follow me this week as I host Midnight in the Desert, the best in anomalous talk radio. We talk about monsters, myths, legends, all of the fringe elements you love on Beyond the Darkness. We blow out on 5 days a week. And this week, Tim Dennis will be filling in for me on Thursday night as I'll be off to the Monoman Shooting Star Casino event. There are still some tickets available. If you're interested in joining me out at the Monoman, Minnesota Shooting Star Casino, just Google Shooting Star Casino and you'll find all the information about the Paracon. A lot of great speakers, many different celebrities will be on hand, including me, your MC and host for the entire weekend. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you come on out and visit with me, and we'll see you back here on the best in paranormal talk radio next Saturday and Sunday. This is Beyond the Darkness.